Hey, welcome back to Sprague Over Homestead. I'm Kanan.
I'm Nikki.
And this year we're going to put out kind of a wrap-up of 2022. Now, last year we really didn't do one because of 2021. Nikki did a video called Goodbye 2021 that really kind of went into the goals of 22. And so we thought, did we actually meet our goals? Well, let's find out.
So for once in 2022, we did not actually have a goal video because, like the rest of the world, we were kind of getting our teeth kicked in a little bit in 2021. And so we kind of thought, well, our goals will just be a continuation. We'll just pick up the 2021 goals and move those into 2022 because surely it's going to get better, right? Yeah, no. In some ways it did. Like in 2021, we had the big fire. That was kind of the big thing. It was really hard to do anything outside because of the fire. But 2022 brought its own unique challenges to the board. But that said, a lot of really great things got done. So the first thing that kind of happened in 2022 is we actually got the rabbit cookbook done, which I know a lot of people waited a really long time for, but we did get it all done. Came out in February. And if you don't have a copy, you can get one through Amazon. Kanan will drop the link in here. I do still do some signed copies. I'm going to add those to our website in the next week or so to make it a little easier to order those. Because I've had a few times now where people are either emailing my private email and it's ending up in spam, or it's ending up in spam in the Homestead account, and I just don't see it. So I'm going to add those to the website so you can go in and just click and pay for it online, and then I'll get the order and I can send it in. So that'll be easy. I also started doing red wiggler worms, I think in January or February, and that's going okay. I will not lie. I do not keep up with my bug projects very well in the summer. So we're still kind of learning our way through it, but they are doing okay. I think I'm going to actually have some worm castings to plant with this year. So that's always good. So on the rabbit end of things, I got back to doing shows in March. And then in April, I actually went all the way out to Illinois for Harlequin Nationals. I didn't have a lot to show, but as the National Club Secretary, I decided to go. So I drove to Missoula, Montana, which is about a 12-hour drive. Hooked up with our club president, which is also Nikki Raines. And then we took, 2.5, 3 days, drove all the way to Illinois, did our showing, and came back. I did a little bit of showing I think I did a show in April and then another in May. And then I pretty much stopped, picked up another one in September, and then did a convention in October in Reno. So not a whole lot of showing. There's still not a lot of shows here, and a lot of our clubs have gone bankrupt. I guess I did do a show in February also, which has since now been canceled. That club has disbanded, so no February show for me this year. We actually did really cool at the May show. We took our silver martins, because I did pick some more martins up when I went out to nationals, and we actually won our first best in show. And believe it or not, the way I entered them so that we could make sure that we had a leg and had 3 exhibitors, I completely screwed it up and entered that doe as Kanan's, who has been looking like he's dead in this video. So Kanan actually has a best in show. And then this fall, his doe actually granded out. So go figure. I granded out 2 of mine too, but no best in shows for me. But Kanan's got a best in show now, so I've got a reserve in show with a Harlequin. He's got a best in show with a Martin, and I've got some work to do. I bet he couldn't tell you what her name is.
Rabbit.
You know what her name is. So that was Shimmer. So she did that, and then, like I said, I got her granded out in the fall. So Kanan actually did really well this year in the shows. For some reason, I think he was beating me for a while in the Harlequin sweepstakes, and yeah. Don't let this guy's mean mug fool you. He's got an eye for it more than he thinks he does. Alright, so that's that. So on the hatching front, when I got back from nationals in late April, I fired up the incubator and we started hatching. And we turned that bad boy off in July?
Yeah.
Birds did not sell at all.
Right.
Not at all. I did sell, half a dozen turkey poults, but really nothing. I mean, it was really bad. We sold a few quail. I think I sold 2 batches of 25. But on top of that, the other side of that coin is they weren't selling, but we had phenomenal fertility. I was pulling a 98% hatch rate on our quail eggs and a 96% on my chicken eggs and about a 75 on the turkey eggs, which is actually pretty good considering our turkeys are getting on up there. So we did have a complete and utter failure on the goose end. Mm-hmm. We didn't get anything. The geese started hatching really early, stopped really early, and what we did put in the incubator, nothing hatched, which I have not had that happen in a few years. But yeah, so the hatching was terrible, or the hatching was great, but the sales were terrible. And so because of that, we actually kind of rolled into starting in July. We started thinning the flocks. Mm-hmm. And we butchered, 40 chickens? I think we butchered 40 chickens this year.
There's a lot.
Yeah, we felt like we were killing something every week. We still have some turkeys left to do. We did butcher the goose that we needed to do. We had that for Christmas. And ironically, Kanan had named it Christmas. I butchered a lot of quail, which is fine. I've still got a few more left to do out there. But yeah, lots of butchering, lots of canning. I, at one point, was doing 2 and 3 loads in the canner every single day. And that was with the new canner, the Presto Precise, because I don't have to mess with it quite so much. So I was still getting a lot of other stuff done, but we were butchering like crazy. We also butchered, about 50 rabbits this year?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, and that was just the fall. We did some in the spring, too. I lost my coal buyer. He had some medical issues come up. So, yeah, we butchered a lot of stuff this year. A lot of stuff.
So Nikki spoke about the hatching, how the hatching was great, but the sales were really pretty bad. Let's just say goats. Goats were the same thing. Goats did pretty darn well this year. We had our new buck that was 1.5 years or 2 years old named Erickson. Big strapping lad. He produced a lot of big strapping babies. And guess how many of them sold? Not very many. Well, let's just say none. None. So we entered into winter and have every nook and cranny full of goats you can imagine. And we just started breeding in the last week for this year, but we've actually had to separate pens up with extra fencing and do a bunch of extra things because we have goats in every conceivable spot you can put a goat around this farm.
The irony of the whole thing was the fact that in June, as our kids were because we breed for summer kids or late spring. So as our kids start hitting the ground in May, on a whim, we had 5 wethers hanging out here, I think. We had 5 extra wethers from the year before that we had planned to eat, but time is short. So on a whim, I threw them up on Craigslist for way too cheap. And a guy contacted me and said, "What all do you have?" And I said, "Well, I got a couple other doelings that are hanging out." He said, "How much will you take for the whole lot?" So I put together a package for 11 goats?
11 goats.
11 goats in June, just on a whim, nothing fancy, mostly boys. Guy drove from Roseburg and picked them all up. And I thought, here we go. This is going to be a good goat year. Mm-hmm. And nothing from there. Just absolutely nothing. And our hay is really expensive. We did all right between hay and alfalfa. And some of it is really good hay, which naturally the goats hate. But the really good, orchard grass hay, we, on 12 ton, I think, we averaged $3.15 a ton, which was actually really good.
Good for this area.
Yeah, a lot of people were paying upwards of $400. But it's really expensive. And so a lot of people weren't doing the whole goat thing. So right now I'm sitting on 5 bucks that need to go. And that's Nubians. And then I've got some younger ones. And then 2 extra does, of all things. And usually I don't have that problem. But we'll see if we can move some along. As prices for everything is going up, we're starting to see a little bit more demand. So I'm hoping. Otherwise, we're going to be butchering goats this spring.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, and having too many goats basically meant that we really focused on our fencing this year. So this year, we had bought last year on a lot of deals before we saw fencing was really going to start going up. We, I won't say like Black Friday deals, but there were a lot of spring sales that you wouldn't normally have that we went in and bought 4 rolls at a time on field fence or goat fence with this long-term plan of doing it. And it just so happened we bought, I think, 4 rolls of goat fence to do some of it. And then our local store double ordered by accident, called us a couple weeks later and said, hey, you guys never picked up this order that you did. And we got a really fantastic price on the first stuff.
We got it for, so the first, we actually bought some at the tail end of 2020 and we got it like screaming good deal, like $219 for goat fence, 330-foot roll. Of red brand, which I think right now is going for like $389 here. And yeah, last spring, so in spring of 2022, or was it late 21? Either way, it went on sale for like $229, and we went and bought 4 rolls, and it was slow to come in. So they offered me some other stuff to come in from a different store, and we were going to. And in the meantime, our stuff came in. But they had already ordered us some more red brand and didn't say anything. So like 2 months goes by. Unbeknownst to us, they had issued a rain check on it. Mm-hmm. So they called me when it came in. By that point, the fencing was up to what, $309?
Yeah, it was almost $100 per roll.
More
expensive
and
at
so,
retail.
Yeah, so they called me and they said, well, you have a rain check, so we're going to honor the $219, $229, whatever it was, price. And at first we were like, we're not going to do it. And then I looked up what it was going for. And so we went and bought it. So we, we got a screaming deal on
fencing. So last year on the outside of the fence, which was our long-term around the 20 where we live, we put up 6 rolls of that with our new fence stretcher.
8.
We did 8?
8 rolls.
And so we have almost our complete 20. We have a couple extra sections to do that we want to do some repairs on and modify kind of the fencing of it. But that won't take a lot, and then we can start moving on. But we did a lot with our tractor last year, thinning out the fence lines, cleaning them out, doing everything right. So this is stuff that will probably, honestly, I think we will never have to put it up again other than just going around. I know. Knock on that wood. Don't jinx yourself. But I hope that we will never have to do much more than just maybe walk it once or twice a year, double check the clips are on there. But we took a lot of extra time to put on the right clips and to make sure it all works and it's going to stay put, and concrete in all the posts. And I mean, we put a lot of work into getting it done.
And if you've never put up goat fence, let me tell you, that stuff is not much fun to stretch.
Right.
It's
extremely heavy.
It's really heavy.
Really strong to pull.
Yeah. On a 330-foot roll, like we did some field fence on the interior where we divided out pens. We did field fence. On the outer perimeter, we did the goat fence. And the reason for that is the goats can't get their heads out on the outside fence. But on the inside, if they get stuck, nobody cares because you can go get them out. And very few of our goats ever do anyway. But yeah, like on the field fence with the tractor, you inch it along and it pops right up and it'll stand right up to the fence posts, and you go through and you clip it. The goat fence is so heavy that if you pull hard enough to get it to stand straight up, you can't move it to contour with the ground at all. It's just so tight.
Right.
So the first 2 rolls were a learning experience, but we finally figured out there's a certain degree of lift that you have to expect. And then you have to basically walk it up and push it up. And it is heavy stuff. But we did get it. And we also got a good deal on barbed wire. So we are ready this year, going into 23, for some barbed wiring.
That's right. Now, outside of the fencing, a lot of the big things we did this year, we did a lot of gardening, and we didn't do as much in our greenhouses, which is we kind of rolled into 23 is fixing up our greenhouses. One of the things we did not do is going to be all the classes in our hip camp. And the reason was, if you saw a video in August about illegal marijuana grows, we had a major bust on the property next to us. And it was a drama unfolding for 3 months of the summer between May and August, between the time that I think the county finally got wind of the neighbors and their situation. It was what we believe is, it was a whole story. It was a whole story. We did a video on it and why about going on, but it started really messing with our well quality for our water.
Yeah.
And we really just didn't want to do any classes because all of our hip camp and everything down there really was too close to this neighboring property, and we didn't really know what was going to happen with what's going on.
And we knew something was going on when they showed up in April. So they had been coming in the spring every year and kind of hanging out and doing some grows, which we were told was legal hemp, and at least the 1 year they had a permit and all that. But we knew something was different right out of the gate. I mean, they were bringing load upon load upon load and tons of workers. And we knew something was not right. And then actually saw some county vehicles going in, and we knew something was going on. So we opted no classes, no hip camp, because quite frankly, some of those guys can be dangerous. I mean, I will say this again, we've never had any trouble with them. But you don't want to risk people being down in there a whole lot. It's one thing if they see us out there messing around in our lower field, but we didn't want anybody too close in case something happened. So, we're thinking maybe classes and hip camp this next year, but we'll see.
Yeah. And really, I mean, that kind of took us all the way through till the fall. And I think probably the end of the year, the things we didn't know about as we approached towards Thanksgiving, I didn't know what my employment was going to be this year. I had been warned that things were kind of lean. I might be let go and have to go do things. And I was already working side jobs and doing extra writing and things. And I picked up a couple extra deals there between Thanksgiving and Christmas around there. But thankfully, I got notified about mid-December that I got a contract extension on one of my employment, which is the main one that pays for this luxurious lifestyle we lead. But I got extended out for another year, and then we decided right around Christmas, we had enough of some of the cabinets and the colors and white walls and white ceiling, etc. And so Nikki just said, I want to start painting everything. And so we went down to our local home improvement stores. We bought a bunch of paint. We bought cabinet paint. We've bought new flooring for most of the house. And we kind of went on a moving furniture, painting walls, letting it dry, put it back. And we've painted
Most of the house.
Probably about 75% of the house.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't paint the bedrooms and the ceilings, but kitchen, dining area, living room, hallway. I mean, everything got a fresh coat of paint in varying colors to kind of accent each other, and it really kind of brightened up the house. It really feels like a whole new house to a certain degree.
I think my biggest accomplishment there is the fact that with 3 house dogs, nobody ended up in the paint. Nobody. Not a single spot of paint on any of the 3 dogs.
It's pretty good.
Kanan, however, ended up with some mystery spot on a sweatshirt that I don't even know how he got close enough to the paint.
I don't either.
But the dogs made it through just fine. Our other big accomplishment in 2022 was that I gave up the idea that I was ever going to have time to build a goat stanchion and bought a really nice one from Premier that we'll do a video on probably here in a few months. Now that I've had it almost a year, we'll do a good review video. I wanted to see how it was going to hold up first. And we started our goat milking program. So I milked 3 does for 3 months about.
Yeah.
And have dabbled now in some cheese making, and I'm looking forward to it again this year.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a good 3 months or so of fresh milk. Half the fridge was full of milk and cheese for a while.
I learned that real quick, that when you start a dairy program, it is all encompassing very quickly.
But we finally broke down and bought all the right equipment to do it easily and efficient. After, debating on building a stanchion, we finally just broke down and bought one, which was, I think it really is the best decision in that. And then after a week of watching Nikki come in with curled fingers saying, I milked 3 goats. I got it today. We bought a one-handed milker and some replacement parts that lasted all the way through. And it
was not that bad.
It was that bad?
I was very sore, I won't lie. Milking is a big deal. But I wasn't crippled.
She wasn't crippled. But she looked like she had 90-year-old fingers.
I did not. I did not.
So yeah, we broke down, bought the right tools to do it. It was more of and we even talked about it in a video of when is DIY not appropriate or when you should just bypass it and buy something that's manufactured.
And that's kind of the highlights of our 2022. The only other thing that really happened was, we had 2 things that happened. One, we brought home a new puppy. In July. Another collie, which you've probably seen in a few videos. She will be in far more this year because she likes to be up in everybody's business. And about a couple of days to my first fall show in September, went out, tried to start the Suburban. My Suburban didn't work. Pack rat ate all my wiring. We still have not had a chance to fix said wiring yet. So
yeah, that's on my spring list to fix her Suburban so she can take it to shows and not keep borrowing mine.
He doesn't like bunnies in his car.
No, I don't.
So that's pretty much the highlights of the year. I know we were pretty non-existent for videos in pretty much November through now. We took the holidays off. We had other things to do. Focus on a little bit of our own stuff. And that should start to pick up. I got a whole list of stuff to do.
So that's it. If you guys have any questions on any of the videos we did in 2022 or early 23, we haven't done a lot yet, but we got a snowblower finally got that brought in, set up, and we've been able to blow out our road and keep ourselves in and out going from the property. But if you have any questions or comments, anything we did this year, anything that we really didn't cover very well or didn't cover at all that you saw in any of our videos, you can leave it down below. And I think that's it. Now it's time to start looking forward going into 2023. We have, about 49 weeks left or so to get going, and it's time to get there. So that's it for Sprague for Homestead. I'm Kane, and that's Nikki, and we'll see you next time.
Happy homesteading.